Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Always say I'll do a little short update if there's something I feel needs to get out there a little bit quicker. And it's not the greatest news, although it's a little bit better than certainly some reports are out there. I just want to give you some injury updates and one young player leaving the club as well. And I just thought, you know what, probably not going to be able to do another video as in a main big video until after Saturday's game. So I thought this way, just for anyone watching the last video that maybe want a little update on some of the things I touched on, you're going to get it now. And for anyone who goes straight from that video into this one, yes, I know it's going to be a little bit confusing because the beard has gone. Always do a bit of a recharge of it once every 2 to 3 months as it starts to get a bit scraggly and old man tramp-like, which is not really the aim of what I'm going for. So yes, where to start? I think there's probably no other place to start than Oliver Skipp. Young Skippy, I'm trying to think what I said in the last video at that point. That was Monday. I think the info we had then was that he was definitely going to be a doubt for the game against Southampton. Now we know a little bit more about exactly what happened. In the immediate aftermath, it was kind of being spoken about as a challenge on the training ground, but technically that wasn't exactly what it was. So, here's exactly what happened. Your timeline of events. So, Friday ahead of the Rangers match, at Hotspur Way, Skippy went up for a header with another member of the Spurs squad. And just the most freakish, unfortunate thing, the two of them came down, landed, and the other player's foot went straight into kind of the back of Skippy's ankle heel, that area. His stud went through. Obviously, that's probably the area where you're not protected by your boot either. Although how much protection modern day boots actually give you, I don't know. But so stud went right through the skin. Really gruesome injury, which I think I said before that all the teammates around were kind of turning away and looking away because it was a really horrible looking deep cut that required a lot of stitches. So initially I think they thought that was just going to be the issue and it was a case of the stitches needing to come out and healing and yeah, he might just miss the first game. What's happened since is that after scans and everything, they've found a very, very minuscule is the word I've been told, a hairline fracture in Skippy's heel. So obviously he had that kind of the laceration, the cut in his foot, but also this hairline fracture. So I've seen some initial estimates out on social media about timelines. From what I'm told, and this is from people within Spurs and also from people on Skippy's side of things, is roughly 2 to 3 weeks is what he's going to miss now, which I guess the biggest thing is it's an absolute pain in the backside for him. Bearing in mind, he just got back from, he's only had that one, I'm even kind of reticent to say bad, but that one injury that was a problematic one last season, which was the pelvic injury, which eventually got fixed with the surgery he had in, was it May? It was either April or May, which obviously in hindsight, had it done earlier, he would have only missed a couple of months, but that's the beauty of hindsight, I guess. So yeah, he got back, got really, really fit for pre-season, and I'm told the Spurs coaching staff had labelled him as in the top 2 fittest in the squad. That's where he was at in pre-season. He was absolutely flying. Everyone was delighted with him, and then just freak incidents of jumping up for a header and someone landing and studded through that. Ugh, honestly, it was very, very gruesome. So yeah, we're looking at 2 to 3 weeks from now. So going to miss the first 2 or 3 games, and he'll be back in training. Essentially, what has to happen now is they have to let the bones settle down. There's the expression I was told. And then, it's just a case of that. Like I say, I must stress that, and I know people hate this word when it's used about anything to do with Tottenham and injuries, but Spurs are seeing this as a minor injury. It's hairline fracture and something that should heal very quickly. Heal in his heel very quickly. This isn't, like before. This isn't the pelvic injury. I've already seen people saying that he should be sold on social media this morning. Sold because someone landed on his heel, which is as ridiculous as it sounds. He will be back, like I say, hopefully, what are we on, August the 3rd? You'd hope he'll be back in action before the end of the month. Like I say, 2 to 3 weeks should bring him in before that. And yeah, it's just really unfortunate timing. There's nothing you can do about someone essentially standing on your heel. It's not even standing, is it? It's kind of falling on your heel from a slight height. So yeah, just feel, everyone knows what a big Skippy fan I am, and I am absolutely gutted for him that he's just kind of had this real. I think it's just it's almost like tripping over, as it were, on his really quick path back that he was making. So yeah, so Skippy out for 2 to 3 weeks, and hopefully, I'm sure everyone wishes him well, and then he'll be back in action. And like I said, I think in the last video, it's quite interesting that we've seen Højbjerg used with Bissouma or Bentancur, but not Bissouma and Bentancur together, which makes me wonder whether Conte sees Skippy as Højbjerg's kind of rotational person. So you see Skip with either Bentancur or Bissouma going forward. So yeah, but he'll be back soon. It's not serious. It's not a really bad injury. It's just a very unfortunate freak accident. He's not injury prone. He's not susceptible to terrible things happen to him. It's just a very unfortunate young man. He's only 21 years old, and someone landed on his foot. It's the same. I think I said this in the last video. It's the same as me wandering into any of your workplaces and jumping in the air and landing on your heel. You can't stop that happening. Well, unless you block me with a move. But if you didn't see it coming or expect it, I don't go into a weird place there, but you know what I mean. Yeah, some people kind of getting a little bit over the top about that one. But midfield, unfortunately, is going to be a slight issue in terms of cover on Saturday, because I understand Yves Bissouma has picked up a slight hamstring tweak in the game against Roma. What we didn't know, because we interviewed Bissouma after the game, myself and Tom Barkley from The Sun, and we weren't to know that underneath he was wearing tracksuit trousers. Underneath those tracksuit trousers, he had ice on his hamstring, which, yeah, it'd be nice if someone pointed that out. But yeah, I think the suggestion is he came off at half time with that in mind. Although I do wonder whether he and Bentancur would have shared the minutes anyway. But yeah, so he had ice on that, and he's a doubt for Saturday, is the way I'm being told, which doesn't suggest he's likely to miss much more than that. Like I say, it's just a tweak. It's one of those precautionary things. I think they took him off just to make sure it didn't become something a little bit more serious. He did have an injury when he was away with Mali. I'm trying to remember what that was. I feel like maybe that was an ankle issue, because he missed their last game of the summer. But yeah, so yeah, just more of a precautionary thing. And it may well be that they look at it and maybe do their scans and stuff and decide that he can play a part on Saturday. But at the moment, I'm told he's a doubt. Yeah, which leads you to wonder exactly who'll be on that bench, because obviously Harry Wink's situation is that he's been told he's not in the club's plan. So it would seem odd to then put him on the bench, especially when he hasn't been doing the work with the team this summer, or gone on any of the tours, played in any games, which would then lead you to believe that Pape Matar or Harvey White would be on that bench. I'm trying to think whether it would be the two of them. I guess Harvey White's quite versatile, so is Pape Matar, to be fair. But it's one of those situations where it's rubbish for Skippy, not great for Bissouma at all, so obviously miss his first competitive game in a Spurs shirt. But who knows? You never know. It could open a little door for Pape Matar to maybe, or Harvey White, to come on late in the game and catch the eye and maybe change what their season is about to hold. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, Richarlison's going to miss the game as well with his suspension. So it's funny, isn't it? 6 new signings, yet that bench is going to be a little bit different to what it would have looked like in an ideal world. But still, I think the strength of the squad is still going to be a very strong bench on the whole. I can now tell you actually about Djed Spence. Spoke to Djed Spence again, another one we got after the game on Saturday against Roma. Really good interview. He's I don't know if I said this or not, young guy, clearly a little bit nervous, trying to act quite confident as you know we all do when we're that age. I think he was kind of munching away on a wrap while talking, trying to be a bit laid back and all that. But you could tell there's a little bit of nerves. It was his first media interview since becoming a Tottenham, like a Premier League player essentially. But he was really good. He's a good guy. He's seems a nice young man. Very, it's quite articulate. Obviously, when you're young, you don't. On the whole, you don't give the longest answers, but they were quite decent, and he was articulate. Just got the some of the quotes here that I want to talk to you, because there were two things that really stood out for me. One was what Conte had told him about what he wanted, and another was even Perisic once again coming up in conversation with young players, having had a very helpful and informative chat with them. So on the Conte stuff, obviously you know what Conte told me out in Korea about Spence not being a club, not being a signing that he'd specifically asked for, more a club signing, but one that he'd greenlit because he was, he thought had shown he could become an important player. So we asked, first off, actually, I asked Spence about kind of what it was like waiting for that move, because we were all waiting a long time for that move, and it was probably the most reported move as being done or an advanced discussions I've ever seen a move involved with Spurs. It was just weird, and it was never really advanced or done until, in those final days. So I asked him kind of what it was like, and he said, to be honest, the weight didn't really affect me too much. I was always certain of coming here. It didn't affect me. I just focused on what I was doing, training hard. That was it, really. The manager was a big draw. Obviously, the club itself is a big club, Champions League football. Those were the things that made me want to come. The manager knows what he wants, and he wants his players to work hard. I'm willing to do that, and I think it's going to be a good season for everyone. Hopefully, I can make a quick impact. No one really likes waiting, although I know you've got to be patient, and if you get the chance, you've got to take it. So we asked him essentially what Conte asked him to bring to the team. And bearing in mind, obviously, this all came after he hadn't played a minute in that game against Roma. So he could have been a bit down, he could have been a bit deflated, but he said about Conte, he said, just to buy into what he's doing, work hard and just play well when I get the chance, that's it. And that's it, really, because he's 21 years old. I do think he is going to become a big player for Spurs as this season progresses, and I think he's going to prove that he fits the Conte mould nicely. So we asked him about, obviously Ryan Sessegnon had said a couple of days back that, I think it was in Korea, that even Perisic had a good chat with him, giving him pointers, little things to talk about, how essentially Perisic knows how to be a Conte wing-back. He's been there, done it, bought a T-shirt, and Sessegnon was explaining that he'd been giving him pointers and everything. So, yeah, we put it to Spence, because Spence is a very good mate of Sessegnon's. They played together throughout the youth levels. I think it was at Fulham, and I think they were really young as well. So I kind of said, has Sess passed anything on to you, or if you had a chat with Perisic? And just so happened, one of those perfect moments to ask a question, Perisic had just been having a chat with him moments before. So he told us, actually, I spoke to Even just then. He told me my chance will come. Just be ready, train hard. When you get your chance, do well, and hopefully you'll stay in the team. This is another big reason why Conte wanted Perisic as a priority this summer. Because not only on the pitch are you getting an incredibly good player, a 33-year-old who has won everything, the Champions League, Serie A, Bundesliga twice with 2 different clubs, domestic cup wins, I think, with 4 different clubs. So, you know what he brings you on the pitch, but also off the pitch, he's a leader, he's a mentor, he's someone that I'm told he's got that similar intensity to the way he speaks that Højbjerg has. And he really kind of inspires you and drives you on. It can be a little bit, as I said with Højbjerg can be a little bit much for the young players who aren't used to it, but you know that it's all for the good of the team and driving people on. And it looks like Perisic is a very similar mentality, that winning mentality. And Spurs can't get enough of those players, honestly. And I just love the fact that he's taken Spence aside and just had this little chat with him and said, don't worry, you didn't play, but don't worry. Essentially, your chance is going to come. Just make sure you're ready for it. And no doubt, like Sessegnon, he'll be giving him lots of kind of indicators and pointers about what's to come for him and how to impress Conte. So, perfect mould. I love that. 33-year-old and 21-year-old. Complete difference in age, 21-year-old and a 33-year-old, more than a decade apart. But Perisic has clearly come in, despite only being at the club a matter of, weeks. he's looking at these players and thinking, what can I do to help them as well? I love that. It's such an important part of football that we kind of maybe gloss over at times and underestimate just how important it is. So, the other little thing we asked Spence was, because obviously last season he did play against Premier League opposition, played well against Arsenal, Leicester, Liverpool in the FA Cup, and we kind of asked him whether that had given him a little bit of an idea of what's to come. And he said, they're just more ruthless in the Premier League. It's just a better level in every way. Hopefully I can take those performances into the Premier League, do well for the team, do well for myself, and hopefully we can do good things this season. And I asked him right at the end, I just got it was maybe a bit of an unfair question to chuck in there. I just kind of said to him, the Spurs fans are quite excited about you. What can you bring? What do you want to expect to bring to this Tottenham team for those fans? And I felt a little bit sorry as soon as I'd asked it, because he was like, oh, and he kind of really thought for a minute. And I actually said, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I didn't kind of really think that is actually quite a kind of, it's a big message to the fan kind of thing, the fans. And he had a little chuckle about that. And then after a few seconds, he kind of thought, and he said, hopefully I can bring excitement to the team, bring something different, and give the fans something to cheer about. So it was a good answer. It was a good answer. I did feel bad about putting him on the spot, this young man, as I called him. But yeah, no, he answered well. And he seems like a good lad with his head screwed on. I know there's been stuff in the past. We saw the Neil Warnock stuff, the little spat there with a cigar in his mouth afterwards and all that. This is a different club. This is a different level. This is a different stage for him. Essentially, it's very simple under Antonio Conte. You work incredibly hard. You give everything. You will catch his eye and he will improve you and you will very likely succeed. It's a very clear pathway. If you don't buy into his way, you won't do well with him, and that's that. And as Conte quite clearly said, I think it was after Delhi left, there's no instances of players leaving me and doing better or doing well, which was quite a big statement at the time, but it's very clear that's his belief. And I'm sure some people will be able to find some who maybe have done okay, but yeah, he's very clear about the fact that if I decide you're able to leave, you don't go on and do better. So yeah, it probably tells players everything about what they need to do. Talking of young players, there is likely to be an outgoing today at Tottenham, and one I must admit I'm a little bit disappointed about. Kion Etete, who you'll have heard me talking about in loan roundups. I like Kion. He is, what is he now, 20? Yeah, 20. I think he's 20 now. Big lad, 6'3", I think. Bought from Notts County. When was that? That was ages ago now. 2019, I think it was. Bought for like a nominal fee, about 200 grand, something like that, along those lines, Notts County. And he came in, played a bit of youth football, but then last season got his kind of big loan moves. He spent the first half of last season at Northampton Town, really started to come into his own towards the end of that loan, and then he was recalled, so he could go on a bigger loan to League One and Cheltenham Town, where again he did very well. I've got numbers here. 4 goals. There was 4 goals at Northampton. It all came in quite towards the end. And then 3 goals and 3 assists in his 13 appearances for Cheltenham. A little bit of an ankle injury, which kind of held him up in the middle. But it was a real breakthrough season for him. And like I say, big target man, but also with really skillful kind of feet. And both those clubs really impressed him. So there was a big old line of clubs trying to get him this summer. A lot of championships teams as well. And he's heading off to Cardiff City. He's got his medical he's been having there this morning. And yeah, I am a little bit disappointed because it's a permanent move. I'm sure there'll be clauses in there about, no doubt, something like a sell-on or something. A sell-on clause. People have asked about buyback because I don't know about that at this point. Normally a sell-on clause is the way Spurs go. And it looks like it's going to be worth roughly about $500,000 plus add-ons as well. So, yeah, Spurs will be recompensed if he does well. And for him, it's a great move. I think he will do very well. I think kind of Cardiff have been hinting towards this move. I think their chairman said something on a radio interview or something in the week that they were looking to sign an experienced person on loan and a young player as a permanent, and looks like Kion is going to be that young player. Like I say, a lot of interest in him. I think it just came to the point where Dane Scarlett and Troy Parrott had both signed new deals at the club. They clearly, especially Dane, look to be the future at Tottenham, and Troy certainly, when he comes back next summer, has got a real intent to prove himself and be part of that first team squad. And they've both been getting chances with the first team, and Kion hasn't. So I just think there was probably a bit on the player's part of thinking it's not going to happen, is it? And his deal was up in 2023, so perhaps a reluctance there to kind of extend that. And also for the club thinking, well, yeah, probably if we can get some money for him now. What are we, only 3 years he's been at the club? Like I say, it's a shame because I do actually, and I think I've said this before, I do think he actually would suit the mould of a Conte striker quite well because he is big and he can hold up the ball as a focal point, but actually skill-wise, he's got a lot of skill. You just watch some of the little video clips of him at Cheltenham in his early weeks when he went there. He was doing some lovely stuff down the touchline, beating men down the flanks. It was very good, but yeah. We'll see if that gets finalised. Hopefully today. If the medical's today, it could be tied up by the end of today, if not tomorrow morning. And then, yeah, it could be involved this weekend. I think Cardiff going to Reading. They've got Carabao Cup tie against Portsmouth coming up as well. And then Birmingham, West Brom. Straight in there in the Championship. And it's the next step up for him. He's done kind of completed League 2, as it were. Did well in League 1. And now he's up another level. I'll be really keeping an eye on him, Troy, in the Championship, and Dane in League 1 with Portsmouth as well. Troy with Preston, if you weren't aware. 3 or 2 Spurs strikers and one, unfortunately, who won't be a Spurs striker anymore. But it'd be really interesting to see how their seasons go. I think all 3 of them really will be looking to catch the eye. And, certainly with Troy and Dane's part, Antonio Conte will be made well aware of what's happening, and they'll want to say, I'm coming back next summer ready to challenge. And with Kion, there'll be no doubt a kind of an aspect of trying to prove the first team coaches wrong, as if to say, I would have been ready. And if he has a big season in the Championship, that will come. If I find out more on the exact kind of nature of the clauses involved, certainly I will let you know. I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come on that. And more outgoings as well. Like I say, I think that'll be the next. We'll see more of these deals. Obviously, Joe Rodon has now gone to Rennes. That's all done and dusted. Who have we had go this season? Rodon, Bergwijn, Etete about to go. We know the unwanted quartet, as unfortunately they're being labelled, will probably be heading out the door. Spurs will hope sooner rather than later, before that they can concentrate on actually bringing people in. Once they know what that squad looks like as well. And like I say, you've had Troy and Dane as well going out. And like I said, I think before, ordinarily, I think Harvey White, Jamie Bowden, people like that would be heading out that door on loan. I just wonder at the moment whether they can afford to do that until they can get a handle on homegrown players, club-trained players, and what they need for the European matches. So yeah, right, that was all it was going to be. It was just a short one. Apologies for those who like the longer videos, but this was just a little accompanying update, really, for the last video. Just for anyone that might be watching that and thinking, oh, really? What's happened with Skippy? And obviously, I don't think I've spoken about Bissouma in that one at all, because like I say, he'd hidden his ice pack under his trousers. That's not as weird as it sounds. But yeah, so there you go. Right, I'm going to head off now. Like I say, press conference tomorrow at Hotspur Way with Conte. We'll get hopefully even more updates on Skippy, Bissouma, and anything else going on at the club. I shall bring you those. Keep an eye on my Twitter feed for those. And like I say, next video probably, I'll try to do one on Sunday after the game on Saturday. We'll have loads to talk about, no doubt. So there you go. Right, time to head off. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I shall catch you later. Goodbye.